Hi, I'm Emmy.
And I'm James.
And welcome back to The Bestiary, Monster Manual A through Z. And what have we got today, James?
First of the C's, it's the Cambion. A weird sort of half-devil, possibly half-demon, human hybrid offspring thing.
These guys are very variable, very much depending on their heritage. So they are the offspring of a fiend and a mortal, most typically a human, and probably an incubus or a succubus is implied in the book, but there's many other ways that could go as well. And like incubuses and succubuses, Cambions can kind of fall into both camps.
Yeah. It did actually change over a couple of different editions. In 3.5, they were demons. In 4th edition, they were devils. Now in 5th, they're kind of both, and that works. Sure, why not?
Yeah, someone's got to be the middleman. It might as well be the incubuses and succubuses. I'm sticking with that joke. I can't undo it. So Cambions, again, depend very much on their ancestry and can be very different depending on that as well.
Yeah.
Any evil alignment, and they're going to be a little variable.
Yeah, they pretty much exist on the material plane to sow discord, corruption, attract the wicked to them. One of their favorite abilities they have actually is alter self at will. So they can be posing as like a mob boss or a corrupt noble or law enforcement official, just trying to gather those ne'er-do-wells to them and just create as much bad as they can. Which I think is reflected quite nicely in the art.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see this person's got a chip on their shoulder the size of this armor here. This expression. I know flipping through the Monster Manual for the first time, I did stop on this art because it's really intense and expressive. You can tell a lot about the attitude of this person just from that sneer.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great piece of artwork because just in that expression, I think when you know a little bit more about them as half demons, devils, whichever they are, it really gives that sort of expression of, I'm a bully and I'm going to make life difficult for you, but what I'm really looking for is validation and vilification through that.
In comparison to a lot of devils and demons, because these guys are half human, they have something to prove.
Exactly.
And again, this is another spot where you can see where there can be different from Cambion to Cambion, depending on where they were raised, if they were raised on the material plane or in the abyss or in the hells. They can have different attitudes about how much they need to prove, but they do still have mortal parentage and heritage, and that sets them back a little bit. And they really got to prove to everyone else how cool they are.
Speaking of their heritage, the first thing that occurred to me when I was initially looking through the Monster Manual in a bit more depth rather than just flicking through for things I needed to run games was, okay, so if these guys are like demonic heritage, devils, whatever, how does that set them apart from tieflings?
I had the exact same thought when I was first reading this as a person who adores playing tieflings. I was wondering, what is this? It's a little bit further back in the generational line.
Right.
So it's implied that tieflings are very watered down. You probably don't have that much infernal heritage, but Cambions, you're one generation away.
So if you're a tiefling, you've probably got one of these guys in your family tree.
One or more, which can be a source of irritation or a source of pride. You might run into this person. I know, like, for me, one of my favorite characters that I get to play sometimes is a tiefling bard who comes from a very long and proud line of mobster tieflings. It's a delightful time. I imagine that there's a lot of ancestry, and you can trace it back to the original Cambion, and this can be something as a player that you can really sink your teeth back into, is where is your ancestry coming from? Who was that Cambion?
Yeah. And in terms of having things to prove, stat-wise, I don't think they do have much to prove. Challenge rating 5. Crazy good saving throws. Their charisma modifier goes into their AC. Multi-attacks. Fire rays. Like, they...
Resistances. Out the far end, their stats are just really high. They've got 18s and 16s really far across the board. They're a real pain. You're probably going to talk to this thing a long time before you fight it, but when you do fight it, it's going to suck I know this guy really reeks of mid-level bad guy.
Yeah. Yeah, like there being kind of an early to mid campaign arc where it turns out that the guy you were investigating or hunting or who had been dogging your every move was actually a Cambion, concealing its identity, which, from a DM perspective, like dropping that reveal on the players, that's always great. Like the idea of this thing is not going to fight you as a first option. Its interest is in self-preservation, it's in continuing to do what it's doing. So if you are fighting it, it's either thinking that it's going to be able to finish you off easily, or you've got it backed into a corner, neither of which are situations you really want to be in.
Thank you so much for joining us this week on The Bestiary. Did you know that now we have a Patreon? If you want to be able to support us in a little bit more of a serious way, head on over to the link in our description of our video, and it really does mean the world to us even if you go over to take a peek. So thank you so much. While you're down there, tell us your Cambion stories in the comments and hit the like button and that little bell. It'll help you see more videos. Click here to watch some more Bestiary videos, and click here to watch more Adventurers Pack, and click here to subscribe. Join us next week when we talk about the Carrion Crawler.